Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too.
All right, welcome in. Today we're going to talk about simple ways to eat more protein without overcomplicating it. Now, before we jump into this, I do want to invite you to my free Facebook group, Fatherhood Fitness. Every Wednesday, I go live with topics that my clients have brought up throughout the week or other members of the group that have messaged me about that they're struggling with. I do have a set topic for each live session every Wednesday, but they are Q&A style as well. So if you come live, you can get all your questions asked. So if you're not already a member, I'd love to have you join Fatherhood Fitness. I'll accept you shortly after you join the group, and then I'll send a message formally introducing myself. But let's dive in today talking about simple ways to eat more protein without overcomplicating it. Now, if you've been on social media for more than a minute this past week, you've probably seen a fitness and nutrition coach talk about why you should eat more protein, or less specifically, they've probably said that you need to eat more protein, but they may not have jumped in to the why. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, and then how you can do this as well. So protein in itself is going to help keep you full longer. And so when we're full longer, we're going to snack less. It's going to make it easier to lose weight, right? So if weight loss is your goal, obviously feeling full longer is going to be very beneficial because you're not going to be thinking about food all the time. The more you think about food, the greater chance you're actually going to be eating some sort of food, and it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to actually lose weight. So when we eat more protein, it's going to benefit us in more ways than one. And so it's going to help build and maintain muscle. And so on last week's episode, we talked about how to build muscle without spending hours in the gym. And so protein is a big part of that. It's going to help build and maintain muscle, even if you're super busy, right? Your nutrition's not going to change there. It's still going to be working. Even if you're running around all the time, the more protein we can have, the more beneficial it's going to be. And so it's going to help keep our metabolism high. We're going to be able to burn more calories. Now, what do I mean by this? And so metabolism, the word kind of gets thrown around here, but for each macronutrient, so when I say macronutrient, we have three of them. We have carbs, we have proteins, we have fats. And so each gram of fat is 9 calories. Each gram of both protein and carbs are 4 calories. And so if we have 100 grams of fat, that's going to be 900 calories. But if we have 100 grams of carbs, it's only 400 calories. And so that's why some diets have been kind of popularized with the low fat, right? Low fat diets, because when we limit fats, it's going to be easier to cut calories, right? Now, protein is kind of interesting because protein is actually going to be less. So we say it's 4, we kind of round, but it's actually closer to like 3.2. There's some more research coming out here. And so protein is actually going to help us kind of burn a little bit more calories than if it was just fat. So the quality of the macronutrients matter. So calories matter, yes, but which macronutrient we're eating also matters as well, right? And so 1,000 calories of fat is still 1,000 calories, just as if it were 1,000 calories of protein. But protein in itself is actually going to be more beneficial for your body. It's actually going to burn more calories. And so I know that's a little bit confusing there, but your body utilizes that in different ways. Now, if you're in a calorie deficit, yes, you're still going to be losing weight, but protein in itself is going to be more beneficial to keeping your metabolism higher, to helping you burn more calories. Now, you don't need, bodybuilder levels of protein. You just need the right amount. And so I recommend 0.8 grams per pound of protein. And so if you were 160 pounds and you would take 160 times 0.8, and that's how many grams of protein you would need. And so we don't need a ton. A lot of times you could go a little higher. You can go between 0.8 to 1. So obviously if you're a 200-pound person, about 200 grams of protein a day. And so somewhere between 0.8 and 1 is about how much you're going to need. Now, Some mistakes that a lot of people make when it comes to protein is trying to get all your protein in one meal. And this can be very overwhelming. And so if you have a breakfast, if you have a light breakfast in the morning and maybe for lunch you went out to eat and you're trying to hit your protein goal and all of a sudden you realize I haven't had a lot of protein throughout the day, we try and get it all in throughout dinner. Now, this is possible, but if we spread it out over the day, it's way easier than trying to cram 80 grams of protein into one meal, right? So if we can have 25 to 40 grams of protein per meal, this is going to be much more doable. This is going to be much more sustainable throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, right? This is going to be a little bit easier. Now, obviously, you're going to have some meals that are going to have a little bit less, and you're going to have some meals that are going to have quite a bit more. But we want to try and keep it consistent. The more consistent we can keep things, the easier it's going to be to stick with it long term. Now, one of the things I always work with my clients is in order to add protein, you don't have to change up a lot of what you're eating. We can change the amounts first. And so if you're already eating, chicken, you're eating beef throughout the week, can we add a little bit more of that? I've had clients in the past who have followed diets that are very low calorie. And so to hit their protein goal makes it very difficult. When you're only focused on calories, you're not focused on, the nutrients, you're not focused on the macronutrients, the micronutrients, you're not focused on your protein goal there, then it makes it hard to get in the habit of getting in enough protein. And so if you're eating 1,800 2,000 calories a day while trying to lose weight, then you should have no problem at all hitting your protein goal. Now, it may take some time, right? I'm not saying if you're at 60 grams of protein today, you should be at 150 tomorrow. It's going to take some time. But one of the simplest ways is to simply just add more of what you're already doing. If you're already eating, ground beef, you're already eating, some lean cuts of beef, chicken, things like that, then just add a little bit more of that, and that can bring you closer to your goal. And so some swaps that we can do, simple ways to add protein without a lot of extra cooking is Greek yogurt. If you're eating regular yogurt, can you switch to Greek yogurt? Now, Greek yogurt is something that it took me a long time. I probably started eating Greek yogurt within the last 6, 7, 8 years. I used to not be able to stand the smell of it. Even if somebody's eating like vanilla Greek yogurt now, it's still not my favorite, but I enjoy it. I eat Greek yogurt multiple times a week. It's an easy way to get protein in. I enjoy yogurt, and so I have found that I actually do enjoy Greek yogurt. I've gotten over the smell of it. It does smell a little different. I'm not a big cottage cheese, sour cream, and so Greek yogurt kind of falls into that category for me, but I actually really like it, especially the flavored ones. The strawberry is my favorite. I will add some granola into that. There's some high protein granola. Adding a Greek yogurt is obviously going to add more protein than regular yogurt. If you can add things like a high protein granola, or you can even add a scoop of protein powder in there. I've done that before. It's not my favorite. I'm big on taste. I'm big on texture. That wasn't my favorite. That may work for you. But swapping out regular yogurt for Greek yogurt is a great option there. Protein powder, you can add this in things like I said, like Greek yogurt. You can add this in oatmeal. Some people add it in coffee. I've tried all these things before. It's an easy way to add a little bit more protein in. But again, taste dependent, right? You don't want to be forcing foods down. And so you can find higher protein oatmeals. You can find some high protein coffee creamers, things like that, or simply just adding protein powder in. Easy way to add a little bit more protein than there. Cottage cheese, again, not my favorite, could be yours. Adding, cottage cheese and fruit. This is a high protein snack. Not a ton of hassle, right? It doesn't take a lot. You can have chopped fruit. You can have frozen fruit. You can add this to cottage cheese. Again, this isn't something that I choose, but this could work for you. Just because I like something, that's something I want to make very clear. I never ask my clients, and I'm never going to ask you to eat something that I enjoy, right? Because we have different taste buds. We're not going to enjoy the same food. So just because I enjoy something doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it. And so if I'm going down this list here, I'm reading some of these things. If this doesn't, if this doesn't sound good to you, if this doesn't feel like it's going to work for you, that's okay. You don't have to try all these things. Just find the ones that work for you. But cottage cheese and fruit can be a great option here. I like adding fruit to Greek yogurt and things like that. A lot of times I'll just eat Greek yogurt plain because it's super simple, but adding fruit, adding granola can be great as well. Beef jerky, jerky sticks. Now, obviously, when it comes to like processed meat, there's been lots of controversy on this. It, we don't want to be eating this, every meal, every single day, right? There are some risk to this, to eating processed meats and stuff, but if we're doing this every once in a while, we're doing this on the go, it's not going to be that big of a deal. We don't want to demonize foods. I've talked before about we have certain foods. We have some foods that are more nutritious for you, some foods that are less nutritious for you. With my kids, we call these sometimes foods. Jerky is going to be probably somewhere in the middle, right? Like obviously the sodium is very high in these, but they're still a great way to get protein in. They still have nutritional benefits. So we don't need to demonize jerky. We don't need to demonize processed meats. We don't need to demonize any foods. There are just going to be some foods that are more nutritious than you, some foods that are going to be less nutritious for you. So obviously if you can have, ground beef, lean cuts of chicken, things like that, that's going to be probably your first choice. But when you're on the go, having jerky, having meat sticks, absolutely a great option. This is something that I do personally. It's one of my favorite snacks to have. And so jerky, meat sticks, great choice here. Egg whites, whole eggs, obviously adding egg whites to things is going to bump up the protein. There's a ton of nutritional value in the yolk of an egg. So we don't want to just eat egg whites all the time. But if you're already eating eggs, adding, like you can buy the egg whites in cartons, that's going to be super beneficial because it's going to add some protein to what you're already doing. And it's very low in calorie too. And so if you're making scrambled eggs, adding some egg whites in can be a great way to add protein in. And then swapping things out, the things that you're already doing, right? I mentioned ground beef. I recently swapped out like 80-20 meat for 95-5, super lean beef. It's a tad bit more expensive, but not noticeably different. And the taste itself, like obviously, it's not going to be as greasy. It's not going to be as juicy. But if you're making things like tacos or you're making things with other ingredients with the ground beef, then you really can't taste the difference. I used to buy this for myself, and then like when we'd make tacos for the kids, we would still use like the 80-20, and I just started buying the 95-5 or the 90-10, and I told my wife, I was like, let's just make this the norm, because when we're having taco night, you can't even taste the difference. And so it tastes great. It adds more protein. It has less calories. And so swapping the quality of your meat, the higher, the more protein, the more lean it is going to be a great choice. The same thing goes for chicken, right? So obviously like a chicken breast is going to be leaner, very high protein, but if you simply swap things out for like a chicken thigh instead of having like a drumstick, it's going to be more meat. It's going to be more protein. Yes, chicken thighs have a bit more fat, but they're still pretty lean. And so they're still going to be a great choice here. Adding beans to dishes, so things you're already eating, chili, tacos, soups, is going to add some extra protein without a lot of extra effort, right? We're finding ways to add more protein in without overwhelming yourself. And so adding things to what you're already doing is going to be the key here. And so things like cheese too, cheese gets demonized, but cheese can add lots of protein. It can add flavor. It could eliminate the need for sauces. Sometimes we add sauces to things, and they're very high in calorie, very low in nutritional value. And so cheese, yes, it's going to be, depending on how much you have, can be pretty high in calorie, but it's also going to be a fairly good protein source too, where it can add protein to things. And so protein shakes, I talked a little bit about protein powder. I love protein shakes. If this is something you enjoy, having it as a snack, having it for breakfast, having it with a meal, having it post-workout, these are great. Like, you don't have to rely on these, though. I personally drink protein shakes fairly regularly because it's an easier way for me to get more protein in. But this isn't something you need. If you're getting enough protein in with your meals, then you don't need to add a protein shake. So a protein shake is a supplement, and I always say, supplements are meant to supplement your diet. But if you're having trouble getting your protein in, protein shakes are definitely a good choice there. Batch cooking for the week. And so your chicken, your ground beef, your eggs, you can cook all of these things in bulk instead of, getting, the pans out, every single meal. You can do multiple on Saturday. You can do multiple on Sunday. You can do multiple throughout the week. And so you're not having to cook all these things at the same time. And then really just you gotta work to make this a habit. This is one of the foundational habits I work with all my clients, thinking about protein first. And so this is, building all our meals around this. And so whether you're going to a restaurant, whether you're going to your mother-in-law's, whether you're going to Thanksgiving, whether you're just having a Tuesday night dinner at home, focusing on protein. Think about protein first. How can you make sure you're getting protein in with each meal? If you're having eggs for breakfast, can you add an extra egg? If you're having chicken for dinner, could you add a little bit more? And then actually eating that first. That's one thing that I talk with my clients about. That's a tip that I feel like has helped a lot of people, is that we're not only changing necessarily what we're eating or the quantity of what we're eating, but we're changing the order of what we're eating too. If you go to KFC and you get some chicken, you get your mashed potatoes, you get your coleslaw, you get your biscuit, and you eat your biscuit, your coleslaw, your mashed potatoes first, you're probably not going to want to eat a lot of chicken after that, right? And so if we can focus on filling up on protein first for your meals and then eating the other things later on, it's going to help you get more protein. It's going to help you prioritize that. And you may find that you may eat less of the other foods as well. And so I hope these tips were helpful for you. What I hope you got across from this is that you don't have to completely change your life. There are simple ways you can add more protein in, but we do want to make sure that you understand that protein matters, right? Protein matters. It's going to be the foundation of our meals. It's going to help you build muscle. It's going to help you keep fuller. It's going to help keep your metabolism high. It's going to help you while you're losing weight, while you're maintaining weight, or whether you're trying to pack on muscle. And so protein is super important. Pick one of these that we talked about today, implement it. Let me know how it goes.
That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.